Winter has always been the great equalizer. Before furnaces, radiators, electric blankets and central heating, cold dictated behaviour. It shaped architecture, daily routines, clothing, and especially sleep. If you study pre-industrial survival closely enough, you discover that many practices we now interpret emotionally were, in reality, mechanical responses to cold. Sleeping closer together was not about affection. It was about heat retention, energy conservation, and surviving long winter nights without burning through scarce fuel. Before we go any further, if you value deep historical survival knowledge like this, subscribe to Warfield Prepper Chronicles and like this video. This channel exists to preserve the practical truths history quietly buried. Sleeping proximity functioned as a biological heating system. The human body produces heat continuously, even at rest. In cold environments, this heat is lost rapidly through exposed surface area. Early households understood this instinctively, even without scientific language. By reducing the amount of skin exposed to cold air and sharing body heat, people created a stable microclimate under bedding. This was not casual closeness. Bodies were arranged deliberately to reduce airflow, compress insulating layers, and slow heat loss overnight. In unheated homes, especially in Northern Europe, colonial America and highland regions, nighttime temperatures indoors often dropped close to outdoor levels. Sleeping alone meant your body had to generate and retain all its heat independently. Sleeping close allowed heat generated by one body to warm the shared air pocket beneath blankets, which then reduced the metabolic strain on everyone involved. For modern winter living, this principle still applies. If you share a bed during cold nights, reducing distance and minimizing gaps between bodies dramatically increases warmth without adding fuel or electricity. Even wearing lighter sleep clothing can work when body heat is pooled efficiently. Historical bedding was not designed for individual comfort the way modern mattresses and duvets are. Straw mattresses, rope beds and wool-stuff pallets were meant to insulate from below, not to feel plush. The real warmth came from above, where heavy blankets trapped heat rising from clustered bodies. Multiple sleepers under one blanket reduced cold air circulation. When bodies pressed together, the blanket settled lower and tighter, sealing warmth in. This is why shared sleeping arrangements were common not only among couples, but among siblings, extended family members, apprentices and travellers. In inns, it was, quite normal for unrelated adults to share beds. Not because of social looseness, but simply because heating a room was expensive and inefficient. One warm bed conserved fuel for the entire building. You can actually apply this today by focusing less on high-tech bedding and more on ceiling warmth. One thick wool blanket, shared effectively, will, outperform multiple loose modern blankets that allow cold air to circulate. Firewood, peat coal and dung were all honestly labour-intensive to collect. In winter, fuel use was carefully rationed. Fires were often allowed to die down at night. Bedrooms were rarely heated spaces. People prepared for sleep, knowing they would be relying entirely on stored body heat until morning. Sleeping close, you see, reduced how much heat was required to stay alive, not just comfortable. This really mattered during those prolonged cold spells, famines, or wartime shortages, when fuel access was, well, quite uncertain. From a survivalist standpoint, honestly, this principle is just critical. If power fails or fuel runs low during winter, clustering sleepers in one insulated room, it drastically improves heat retention. Closing off unused rooms and sleeping close together can, raise the perceived temperature by several degrees without burning anything at all. People did not sleep naked in cold climates, not at all. Linen nightshirts, wool caps, socks, and sometimes even cloaks were worn to bed. But clothing alone, well, it was simply not enough. Bodies were carefully positioned to reduce heat loss from extremities. Feet were often tucked against another person's legs or torso, hands pulled inward, and heads covered. Children were placed between adults because they lost heat faster. Elderly family members benefited from shared warmth, since their metabolism produced less heat. This was thermal logic, not sentimentality. These days, winter sleepers can actually use the same method. Just wear breathable layers to bed, cover your head, and position your bodies so that your extremities aren't exposed to cold air gaps. Even, sleeping back-to-back can significantly reduce heat loss. Modern interpretations often, project romance or intimacy onto shared sleeping practices. But historically, privacy was a luxury. Survival came first. Entire families slept in one room, sometimes even in one bed, because heat was concentrated there. Rooms were smaller for a reason. Lower ceilings and tight quarters reduced the volume of air that needed warming. Sleeping close aligned with architectural efficiency. If you are trying to stay warm during winter without increasing heating costs, this matters. Downsizing sleeping space, using one room, and consolidating sleepers is historically proven and still effective. Historical sleep was fragmented. People woke frequently due to cold, discomfort, or environmental noise. But staying warm mattered more than sleeping deeply. Waking up cold could lead to illness or worse. Sleeping close really reduced those night wakings caused by temperature drops. Stable warmth meant folks could get longer rest cycles, even in the harshest of conditions. In winter preparedness today, warmth stability is still, honestly, more important than luxury. A slightly firmer bed, shared efficiently, will keep you warmer than a soft, isolated one. Power outages, fuel shortages, and extreme cold still happen, even nowadays. When they do, modern homes become, quite fragile. Central heating systems fail quickly without power. Applying historical heat-sharing strategies can really prevent dangerous heat loss. So, families can plan winter emergency sleeping arrangements ahead of time. Identify one room, insulate the windows, lay down thick bedding, and, sleep close together. This is not regression. It is proven resilience. Sleeping closer together was never about romance. It was about collective survival. Heat was shared because, heat was life. People understood that warmth conserved energy, prevented illness, and preserved strength for the next day's labour. That lesson remains relevant even today. Winter does not care about modern convenience. When temperatures drop, physics still rules. If you value this kind of grounded, practical history that actually applies to modern survival, subscribe to Warfield Prepper Chronicles, like this video, and share it with others preparing for winter. History has already solved many of the problems we face. You just have to listen.